Boxing Truth here. Just want to talk a little bit about the Lomachenko Walters fight and also the event, stuff that influenced what happened tonight in the fight. Also, why I didn't really bother to talk about this fight during fight week. It wasn't the most intriguing fight to me. Yeah, it was a good fight stylistically, but I already knew who was going to win as soon as the fight was announced. I made a prediction video months ago. When the fight was first announced, and my title was Lomachenko is going to school Nicholas Walters, and that's exactly what happened. A lot of factors played out into why the fight played out the way it did. I mean, everything surrounding this fight before the fight happened pointed to a Lomachenko win. Just look at the Walters' situation going into the fight. Hadn't fought in over almost a year. Was coming off a couple of bad performances. Was getting recognition based off a couple of victories Walters had in his career that wasn't really all that impressive because he knocked out flyweights. So, in my view, especially from studying his last couple of fights, well, his last fight really against Jason Sosa, I don't consider Walters to be a big puncher. He's a good, solid puncher, but he's not a devastating puncher. Also, he's not very accurate. He's also doesn't let his hands go. He's not a volume guy. He's not a seek and destroy guy either. He throws mostly one punch at a time, leaves behind the jab, throws clubby right hands, not very fast. And he was coming off an L, in my opinion, to Jason Sosa in his last fight. But you have to be an astute ring observer to see that Walters lost the fight to Jason Sosa. I just recently watched it again, and again I scored it for Jason Sosa pretty clearly. At least 6 or 7 rounds, Jason Sosa won in that fight. But that's just my opinion. But unfortunately, a lot of fans in boxing are not astute ring observers, which is why you have some delusional fans who think Ward won the fight. But a lot of reasons why I didn't talk about this fight during fight week. I was distracted. Also, the bullshit decision last week took my mind off this fight. And that fight last week, the event, the controversy, it overshadowed this fight. And also, Walters, the inactivity, the bad performances, struggling against Miguel Mariaga, getting rocked in that fight, coming off a year layoff to pretty much just be an opponent to Lomachenko. Before the fight happened, I just viewed this as a glorified showcase fight for Lomachenko, and that's exactly what happened. Even the odds makers saw it as a one-sided fight. Walters was as high as a 9-1 underdog. It closed at 5-1 in betting odds. So really, I didn't see this as a 50-50 fight. And as the rounds were on in the fight between Lomachenko and Walters, you just saw the skill gap was just too wide, and there was practically no chance for Walters to win this fight. He couldn't land his right hand. He's not a volume guy to begin with, and he was less active, even less active in this fight against Lomachenko, because Lomachenko makes you think. You can't just attack him recklessly because he's going to counter the shit out of you. He makes you think in that ring. His feint, his footwork, his counter-punching ability kept Walters defensive. It kept his hands in a guard. He kept guarding his face, his head. He just wasn't letting his hands go because he was being confused. He was just being hesitant. And he was worried about the counters and the moves Lomachenko could capitalize off your mistakes. So Walters, he was handcuffed. He couldn't really do shit. He couldn't land his right hand. Couldn't really land his jab all that much. And every time he wanted to let go of his punches, he would keep his hands at home because he was scared of what would come back from Lomachenko. And Lomachenko, slowly but surely, was just outclassing him, schooled him, toyed with him. The last round was embarrassing for Walters. I mean, Lomachenko was on the verge of a stoppage win. He was losing respect for Walters as the rounds went on. He's the guy. Walters just doesn't have. He's just not that good. He doesn't have the skill set to compete with Lomachenko. He just stands flat-footed, throws one punch at a time. That's the easy pickings for Lomachenko. And Loma was getting bored in the ring, and he wanted to turn it up a little bit, and he did in the last couple of rounds. Was starting to throw more combinations, was starting to land really hard shots, going to the body. It was on the verge of another impressive stoppage win. Lomachenko is really something special. In terms of talent, athleticism, and the skill set he brings to the ring, one of the best fighters I've ever seen. The only thing that's missing about Lomachenko is that killer mentality. If he had Kovalev's mentality, Lomachenko would be unbeatable. But it's just a perfect fighter. If he had that type of mentality, Lomachenko would be a perfect fighter. And perfect fighters in boxing do not exist. Every fighter has a flaw. And that could be Loma's shortcoming, is that he won't have the most exciting performances all the time, especially when he's outclassing a guy like this. But it's going to be hard to find competition for this dude, Lomachenko. I mean, look what he just did to Walters. I mean, he's an undefeated guy, never been treated like that, was struggling in fights, was coming off no momentum going into a Lomachenko fight. But for him to just, Loma to just make Walters to say no mas, it's simply because Walters pretty much knew he had no chance of winning, was frustrated, couldn't hit him. That's what that type of frustration in the ring could do to a fighter. It's kind of fitting Walters pulled a no mas, considering I learned something about him today. That he speaks Spanish, I didn't know that, and that he trains in Panama, which is where Roberto Duran is from. And he pulled a no mas in his career too, against Leonard in the rematch. So it was kind of reminiscent of that fight. Loma was playing with him, toying with him, frustrating him, and ultimately made him quit. And it was just a glorified showcase fight for Lomachenko. We need to find some competition for Lomachenko. He called out Francisco Vargas. That fight doesn't do much for me. I would rather see a Salido rematch. I think that fight's a little more intriguing. Salido's got the win over him. It was a dirty fight, very close. I scored it a draw when the second time I watched it. I think that's the fight for Loma that he should push for next. The title belts are always going to be out there. He could unify later on. He should get some revenge first. Push for a fight against Salido, the rematch. Salido seems to want it after calling him out just recently. And a very impressive display of counter-punching, footwork, boxing ability, combinations, and just an absolute schooling of Nicholas Walters. Embarrassed him. That's going to be a tough loss to bounce back for Walters. But, Walters, I know why he took this fight. He had no choice. I mean, it was either he not take this fight, get a career-high payday, or sit out for the rest of the year, because Bob Arum was going to be able to put him on HBO against any other opponents. If Walters wanted to get back in the ring, he had to fight Lomachenko and get a career-high payday. But he was just an opponent. He was the complete B-side to Lomachenko. But he got a career-high purse in the process, and Loma, you can see he was destined to win this fight. He's the guy that Top Rank is pushing, even more so now than I've ever seen. I see Top Rank pushing Lomachenko more to be their next star than even a Terrence Crawford. I'm hearing a lot of Pacquiao talk when it comes to Lomachenko for potential opponents for Pacquiao in the future. I'm hearing Lomachenko's name more now than Terrence Crawford. So, that makes you think and makes you realize that perhaps Loma is the guy that Top Rank feels is going to be their next star. They feel he's the goods, that he's got the attributes and the skill set of even legendary fighters. As Bob Arum has some high praise, comparing him to even a young Ali. But the sky's the limit for Lomachenko. He could really become a superstar if he goes for the kill more often, becomes a little bit more aggressive. He's a patient craftsman, but he could be a little bit more entertaining, show more of a killer mentality, and also continue to improve his English. And the guy can truly be a superstar. He has everything. He's a complete package. He's got power. He's got speed. He's got defensive ability. He's got all the tricks in the book. And he just absolutely embarrassed Nicholas Walters. But y'all let me know what y'all think about Lomachenko's performance. Were you surprised? Were you shocked that he just made Walters pull the no mas? I really wasn't that surprised he stopped him, but made him quit. Yeah, that was a little surprising. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.